Enclosed in a tiny cell, wasting away year after year, yet even then he never stopped believing. In my eyes, he is the most determined person in the whole universe. Along with some help, he stopped one of the most racial events in history, apartheid. Even at the age of 93, he is one of the most recognised people on the planet and an inspiration to millions. Nelson Rolihlahla Mandela is guilty of every one of these charges. Apartheid means separateness in Afrikaans, the main language of South Africa. Before Britain colonised, there were no whites in Africa. After a while, the European settlers ended up ruling most of the land, and by the 19th century, South Africa was ruled by Britain. South Africa gained independence in 1910, but the government was ruled by the descendants of the European settlers and only gave the right to vote to white people. In 1940, rules were released against blacks and whites mixing. In 1950, South Africa was separated into three groups: black, white and coloured, which were of mixed ancestry. Whites had all the power, although they were of the smallest population. Even things like drinking fountains, bathrooms and park benches were separated by law. Only white people had education and the right to work in skilled jobs. Places where black people lived often lacked of electricity and even plumbing. Also, many South African citizenships were taken off black people. In 1962, the United Nations officially expressed its disapproval of apartheid. Riots and protests were quite common inside South Africa, but were interrupted by the National Party. In the 1980s, President Pieter Willem Botha crossed out many apartheid laws, but this didn't improve anything. In 1990, prisoners were freed, Nelson Mandela being one of them. Born on the 18th of July 1918, Nelson Rolihlahla Mandela spent 27 years of his life in jail. Imprisoned in 1962 for acts of sabotage and other things. He was released on the 11th of February 1990. While in jail, Nelson Mandela became a role model for anti-apartheid fighters across the globe. In 1992, the government gave blacks and whites both the privilege to vote. Nelson Mandela became president on the 27th of April 1994. He was in the office for 5 years from 1994 to 1999. I think that apartheid was an unfair act of cruelty towards humans, and that there is no excuse for such a horrible event in history. In my eyes, Nelson Mandela is one of the best men in history and is the best role model to be growing up with, because even at the age of 93, he still believes, and so should you. Remember, discrimination and racism are not just things of the past.
Today I'm going to talk about hunting and survival. Do you want to know the things needed for hunting and survival in the bush? They are the right attitude, letting someone know your plans, something to light a fire and cook with, first aid equipment and map. Last but not least, weapons. Having a good attitude means going to the bush and giving it your best. Beware of landmarks like the big remu tree and fallen logs. Watch for signs of animals and tread quietly and carefully. Don't give your mates a hard time and don't get drunk. Plan where you are going and what time you will be back. If you get lost, it is comforting to know that people will call for help if you're not back in time. Carry matches in a waterproof bag and take a candle as well as a torch. Food must be sustainable. That's easy to carry. That's the story. You could bring energy food like raisins or dried fruit for snacks. Cheese, chocolates and bread or sugar. Drinking powder like Rara helps keep your energy up. First aid equipment and map. If you want to find your way around using something like a GPS or a compass. For first aid, bring in plasters and bandage. Could be handy. Painkillers make pain go away if you sprain anything or eat something bad. A torch or a survival blanket, which is orange. This is also handy. Orange is a good colour in the bush because if you become lost, it would be easy to find you if people are trying to look for you. If there is a huge hole in a river, you may get very cold and you may get hypothermia. Last but not least, weapons. Guns, knives and ammunition should be packed very carefully. If you are hunting, you should look for animal signs like tracks, wallows, and you must be very quiet. The most important thing in hunting is to identify your target before you shoot. Many accidents happen by being shot accidentally. In our area, most of the shooting is ducks, possums, pheasants or pukkas. I enjoy hunting and tramping in the bush, and I try to follow these guidelines to keep myself safe. About 1 year ago, when I was at home, we were about to go to bed when our dog Serge started to bark, and we went out to have a look what he was barking at. We didn't need a torch because the sparkling moon shone upon us. Dad whispered, "It's a possum!" And we went back inside to get the 22, which is a gun, and ammo. So the next minute he came out with the 22. We shot the possum. The possum ran down the tree with blood coming out of his head. And right beside my mum, and she seemed so loud, I think the neighbours could hear it from 1,000 metres away. Jeez! The possum tried running up a different tree, but it had no energy left. And it fell. Serge got the possum while it was falling. That brings me to my last point. You can have a hunting dog, which makes it much easier to find pests and animals. Remember, a bush trip can be fun if you take all the right equipment and take care. Boom, boom, off to get some ducks! Go.
Clean your room, do your homework, do your chores. But Mum! No buts! Stop whinging or you're grounded. We all have them, and some of us can't stand them. What am I talking about? Parents. We have always had parents, ever since the dawn of time. Humans, animals, insects, even dinosaurs. I don't know about yours, but mine are just, weird. So I'm going to give you 6 things that my parents had to change. Number 1, the music from a million years ago. This one time my dad bought a Cat Stevens CD. We listened to it 3 times in a row. I wanted to scream, rip it out of the CD player, smash it into a million pieces, and smash the million pieces into more pieces, and so on. After about 2 months, I was going mental. So, it mysteriously disappeared. Completely not me related. Moving along. Number 2, the TV programs. How many of your parents here watch Neighbours and Shortland Street and Home and Away? Just when something good's on, Mum barges into the lounge, snatches the remote and changes it to something boring like that. I don't know about you, but those shows are just too dramatic for me. Number 3, the way they burst into your room and start telling you what to do. I asked 10 people if their parents do that, and 9 out of 10 people said they do. The one person who said no said it was her nana. Number 4, the clothes they wear. My dad has this old tie-dye shirt, which is, I don't know, a century old. No one likes it. Only Dad and my sister do. It's so ugly. Number 5, when they try to be cool. If your dad has ever said yo or sup, then you know how I feel. But my best way to stop them doing that for a few days is to look at them with a straight face no matter how stupid they look and say, "No Dad, not cool, not cool." It'll work for a few days, but I wouldn't get your hopes up for too long. And last but not least, number 6, their rules. I knew this guy who had to go to bed at 6:30 every night. It's crazy. I especially hate my mum's rule that I can't have dinner until my room's clean, and you can never even see the floor in my room. But, well, I guess parents aren't all bad. I mean, Dad's my personal bank. Mum, not so much. But she does cook me food even though she set water on fire once. On the news a little while ago, there was this dude and he held his daughter captive and he said he had a bomb. Scary. I'm glad my parents aren't that bad. They're nice and they're not as crazy as they could be, so I'm thankful for that. Uh-oh, I just remembered. I was supposed to clean my room 2 weeks ago. When I get home, Mum's gonna go ape. I'm probably gonna be grounded for a week. Maybe I'll get to clean my room then. Meh, who knows. But before I leave the stage, I leave you with one question. What do your parents have to change? Ugh!